you're looking live at Estadio Azteca. This is in Mexico City. In just a few hours, this stadium will host the opening match of the 2026 World Cup. It's the first time the premier global soccer championship will be spread across 3 countries. You've got the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Now, in the United States, 11 cities coast to coast will feature 78 matches, and it'll start at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles and end with the tournament championship at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The World Cup was promised to bring a huge boost to the economy, but so far it's not really playing out as hoped.
Everyone is experiencing the same thing as far as very, very lackluster lift from this, from folks traveling in, booking hotels, staying in the city for extended periods of time.
On the higher demand dates, more over 50% demand, and then some of the less demand matches, we're still probably not reaching 50% yet.
Yeah, so could this be a flop? Instead, for more, I'm now joined by Kahn. He's a sports media and technology advisor and creator of the Global Game Summit. Greg, good morning to you. You heard the issues there in cities like San Fran, Kansas City. The White House claims the World Cup will bring more than $30 billion to the U.S. economy. And it's also believed that FIFA, of course, the organization for these games, will make around, what, $17 billion? Are you buying any of those numbers?
Good morning, Markie. So as you mentioned, this is the largest sporting event in history that's beginning today. There are 104 matches, 11 host cities in the U.S., as you mentioned earlier. Look, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that the pre-tournament buzz perhaps has not lived up to the hype, but that's really only one piece of the equation here. You know, the group stages, the fact that there are 48 nations for the first time ever means that there are many more matches than there have ever been before. And perhaps the demand for some of the earlier matches have not matched expectations. But that being said, I expect things to change dramatically once the U.S. men's national team plays their first match and once the group rounds end and we get into the knockout rounds.
And FIFA is claiming that the games are completely sold out, but 80% of hotels and host cities are reporting bookings being below what they usually are just in a typical summer when you don't have the World Cup. What do you make of that discrepancy for some of these local businesses and hotels that are speaking out?
Sure. Not all the matches are sold out, although tickets are starting to move more quickly. Hotels are only one piece of the equation. Again, we have to look at the short-term rental economy. We're talking about VRBOs and Airbnbs and individuals that will be staying with friends and families. So that has not been as widely reported. You have to remember that a lot of individuals will be traveling in groups, either with friends or with family. And so if 10 or so more folks are coming, they may not stay in hotels, Markie.
Yeah. And just speaking of some of these businesses and some of these cities who have decided, to host, if you're advising one of these host cities, like a Kansas City, Houston, DFW area, what would you suggest they do to try and break even?
Yeah, well, I think, again, that...
Or maybe they'll get more than, maybe better than break even. What would you do to kind of get the best return on investment that you've planned for?
Sure. I would tap into the local teams or that are playing in their areas. You're seeing in Kansas City, 4 nations have their base camps in Kansas City, and there's euphoria around those 4 different teams that are staying there. And then, of course, many more will be playing matches. I would say to really tap into the culture, to really look at it as truly a global game, a global sport, and to try to welcome those individuals that are coming here from these different regions, or perhaps that already live in the U.S. but just have family or have an affinity to those regions. So I would encourage them to do that. I would encourage them, as is happening in many markets, to extend their hours. A lot of the matches will run late, and people will want to go to bars and restaurants much later, and perhaps to even offer deals. We're starting to see some really fun promotions that are taking place related to the World Cup on a local level.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.